There is a CIA counterintelligence interrogation manual called Kubak that was dated to July 1963. I found out about this by coincidence, synchronicities. I'm interested in this subject, but I've never heard of this before. And this technique is called the Alice in Wonderland technique. I found out about it because somebody came on my channel and they wrote some troll comments, and they were pretty virulent. And so I went and looked on their channel, and there was a video that they liked that was of somebody talking about the Alice in Wonderland technique. And I thought, that's interesting, I've never heard of that. So I started listening, and there's actually an official technique developed by the CIA to interrogate people. And it doesn't state this, but it uses Gregory Bateson's double bind theory of schizophrenia to interrogate people. What do? Typically, you have 3 interrogators. You bring the person to be interrogated into the room, and you have the 3 interrogators immediately start to badger this person to be interrogated, with nonsensical questions. The pitch and the tone and the pacing of their questions will not match the subjects which they're covering. Oftentimes the subjects that they're asking the person being interrogated about are nonsensical. They go nowhere, they mean nothing. The purpose stated in the interrogation technique is not just to obliterate the normal. The purpose is also to replace that which is normal with the mind-bogglingly bizarre, so the person goes into a state of deep trauma that is so awful they would rather give up their secrets and return to a reality that makes sense than have to continue with more days. It takes days for them to crack, usually. But then deal with more of this babble. Based on what we know about psychology, based on Gregory Bateson's double bind theory of schizophrenia, this should work very, very well. It's called the Alice in Wonderland technique. This synchronicity came off the back of a video where I said, look, if you feel confused in a relationship, that's a sign. Not a guarantee, but it's a red flag for me. If a client comes to me and I don't know what it is, I don't know up from down, all of my coordinates have disappeared, I don't know what's going on, I thought love was like this, and they're confused as fuck, that to me is a sign that something is really, really seriously wrong in the relationship. I can't diagnose what their partner has, but I can say this relationship isn't healthy. So this is a real technique that's been written down and is out there in the world. Relies on the double bind theory of schizophrenia, not developed by a psychologist, but by an anthropologist. But also there is something called cognitive dissonance. And it's extremely unpleasant for a human being to live in a state of cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance essentially means the bad feeling you get when your map of reality doesn't match the reality that you're faced with. There's a story, I've never really told this story much. I'm not, when I have a response to something, I tend to be in the depression to rage end of the spectrum, not so much the anxiety state end of the spectrum. But once, when I was 28 years old, I was driving to Spain, and I drove from England to Spain, and I did it in one 24-hour slot because I was young and stupid. After 24 hours of driving, when I was an hour and a half away from my destination in Spain, and obviously was really, really tired already, the sun did not come up at the time that I expected it to come up. And it is the outside of a bad acid trip and outside of like really serious situations that have unfolded in my life very, very rarely. It was one of the most singularly most distressing experiences of my life was driving along, looking at the clock, saying it's 7:30 in the morning, the sun should be up, and I'm driving in pitch blackness. It freaked me out. You can't live with that level of cognitive dissonance for long. There's your psychology part. What are we seeing right now? What's going on in culture right now? Aren't we all having the Alice in Wonderland technique used on us daily? Up is down, left is right, in is out. Nothing makes sense anymore. People are now arguing with a straight face about subjects that you wouldn't have even bothered to raise 10 years ago. You know, 10 years, it's a fairly long time. No, it isn't. 10 years is nothing. Nothing. There are people who now adopt positions on subjects that 10 years ago, if you'd asked them about them, would have gone, I don't know, it's nothing to do with me and I don't care. Now we're wringing our hands over it. Everybody's confused. Everybody's agitated. And there is an actual technique called the Alice in Wonderland technique. So if you had somebody who you were interrogating and you wanted information out of them, you'd use this technique. If you had a whole nation of people or nations of people more plugged in than ever before in terms of exchanging information quickly, the internet, particularly the YouTube. I've been thinking about YouTube a lot today and just how beneficial it is out of all the things for a lot of reasons. I'll cover that on a different video, and this is because I didn't want to pay my YouTube Prime. They're trying to charge me YouTube Prime, and I'm like, if anything to get rid of these effing Grammarly adverts. And then I was like, well, how much is this? It's $9.99. I'm like, why am I not paying that? I use YouTube every day. I use it more than any podcasting service. I use YouTube. I use it professionally. Here I am using it because it's part of what I do. But I personally would use it pretty much every day to learn. It's a great learning tool. Paranoid conspiracy theorist time. People are becoming more and more informed. They can share information at the speed of electricity and the speed of a satellite signal. It's harder and harder to get away with stuff now. Everybody carries a video recorder in their pocket and they can release that to the public so that it's out in the public eye with no delay, or a 3 or 4 second delay, a satellite signal delay. If you were in charge and I was in charge, I don't know, maybe we would get a little bit nervous about that. And maybe we start to be saying, maybe, we should do something about this. Maybe it's time to scramble the population up a little bit. Because if you think about a government's relationship with its people, it's very, very precarious. We all have our ideas. Government's there to protect people. Government is there to serve people. Okay, yeah, cool. It's fine when you're talking about nations of 500,000 people, 1 million people, maybe even 2 or 3 million people. You start racking the numbers up, and you must at some point sit there and go, I'm supposed to manage 60 million people, the UK, or in America is topping out, I think, 329 million people. 329 million people. If they all say no at the same time, and you're in charge, you are royally fucked. So you've got to confuse them. You've got to keep them confused. You've got to give them that, that little dance, that little switcheroo game. Don't look at the hand, don't look at my hand over here that's doing the magic trick. Look at this hand over here that's doing this. You've got to keep people confused. And the net result of this seems to be this spike in mental illness. And I'm like, well, we're losing community, we're too much in technology, so on and so forth. I never considered really, really seriously that there could just be a straight up agenda to keep people confused. How? Just destroy all the coordinates. Now, what are all the political people saying at the moment? Whatever side of the spectrum they're on. We used to meet in the middle. We used to meet on certain subjects. We used to meet and at least agree on the big things. I can't even agree on the big things. On the deepest things. There's no common territory left. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, Huge populations that are expanding rapidly. Rapid population growth. Frightening population growth. Super informed rapidly. It's very, very hard for me to do the stuff I used to do and get away with it. I mean, what do you think? I don't want to upset anybody, but what do you think now would happen with 9/11? The people who had videos there on the day were video editors, mainly. They were filmmakers. It was in that time, 2001, 2000, we weren't, people didn't carry I mean, I did sometimes because that was part of my job back then. But everybody has a camera now. If you're going to do something naughty, I don't think you can get away with it in the same way anymore. So what do? You level up. You go meta. Instead of like trying to deceive people and work behind their backs as to what it is you're really doing, it's way more efficient to just confuse them about what's right and what's wrong. Right? That's way more efficient. Imagine you and me are in charge and we're not very nice people. We want to keep control. We want to stay in charge. It's easier to confuse the target, the person to be interrogated, the person we're targeting for a gaslighting campaign or a smear campaign, the group of people that we're targeting, or even the nation that we're targeting. Keep them confused, keep them arguing amongst themselves, keep them stressed, keep them on pills, all the pills, all the pills. Keep them drinking, keep them on fast food, keep them dumbed down. It's the Alice in Wonderland technique. And all of this came from me just reflecting on me going, yeah, it seems to be useful to keep people confused. If you're evil and you're of bad intent, keep them confused. Confusion. Confusion, you know, as an animal, the animal that you are and the animal that I am, I got time to think about this. I'm living out in the countryside. It's quiet out here. It's good because it's simple and there's very little stimulation. There's just trees and birds, some spiders, some snakes, and the hills. And you go, there's nothing out here, man. I can deal with this. It's a very low stimulus environment. I can deal with this. I can cope with this. But if I think that you're getting a sense of me doing something I shouldn't be doing, maybe that would be a good time to just fire off some fireworks. Give you a little few taps around the head, spin you around a few times, send you over there and say, go and get me that thing right now. It's extremely important that you go and get that thing, and you come back and go, I got the thing, and you go, what are you talking about? What? I never told you to get the thing. You just said, get, no, I didn't. You sure it's me? It might have been him. Who? Who what? Where, when? This is it. It's confusion, cognitive dissonance. Nobody knows right from wrong. The really clever thing that they've done, the evil thing that they've done, is the slow encroachment of the boundaries. So that, you know, if you imagine a person is like a house and it has like a little pathway outside with a gate, and then there's the road and the public walks there, and then they come through the gate and then they walk up the pathway to the house and they knock on the front door. You open the front door and you have like a little atrium area, caecilius in atrium est. And then you go in and you go in the living room. And if you get really, really lucky, you might get through to the kitchen. If you get even luckier still, you might get up to the bedroom. But it's graded. Nothing's graded now. Nothing's graded. You'd be like, okay, here are my political views, but my sexual policies are mine. Nope. No, they're not. Everything is under attack. Everything is under erosion. Everything is like, break the boundaries, break them down, make them feel that they're not allowed to assert what they believe to be right or wrong. That's becoming a thought crime. I think this is right. I think this is wrong. You can't say that. Why not? Cultural relativism, moral relativism. What's right in your culture, what's wrong in your culture might be right in another one. To which I say, fucking bollocks. That's bullshit. That's total, unmitigated gibberish. And it's evil to repeat that kind of gibberish. Pure evil to repeat that kind of chaos-inducing, boundary-eroding. It's just rot. It's just pure corruption. And I'm not like a religious person, but like, damn, you shouldn't tell people that. You don't know you know what right and wrong is. Well, in my culture, we kill people. What are you, a racist? Ooh, you don't want to be a racist, do you? Well, where I'm from, yeah, we kill people. Not all the time, just once a year. It has a special word, foreign, you wouldn't understand. Kill them in a weird way. It's a ritual. What are you telling me? I don't have a right to my faith? Is that what you're saying to me right now? You racist? It's like, no, you can't do that. You can't kill people. And you'll say, well, that's an extreme example. We don't have any examples of people who kill each other on the basis of ethnicity. Don't we? Don't we? We're not living with that every day. You eat your cereal, watch the news, pick up the paper. Oh, that group of people, they did some killing today. Well, Don't say anything about them. I don't want to be called racist, but that's what they believe is right, so that's what they're doing. Okay, yeah, nom 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 nom. You just keep eating your cereal. It's crazy, and it's crazy making. But maybe that's the point. Maybe we didn't just end up here. Maybe there is a level of intentionality to the place where we find ourselves. Maybe if we are here, the reason why we are here is because actually people have pushed us in this direction. Maybe if we feel the way that we feel, because I would always suggest this on an individual basis to people in a narcissistic relationship, an abusive relationship, how do you feel? Okay, well, why don't we as a thought experiment philosophically toy with the idea that the person you're with wants you to feel that way. They want you to feel confused, they want you to feel ashamed, they want you to feel guilty, they want you to feel depressed, they want you to feel exasperated, they want you to feel powerless, right? If I said that if you were listening in on a narcissistic abuse coaching call, you'd be like, yeah, I know all this. What about a potentially narcissistic and abusive relationship between a state and its people, between a government and its people? Where the government is like, yeah, we gave up on serving you like a couple of hundred years ago. That's a cute and quaint idea. We were still wearing like trousers that only came to our knees with long silk socks and like big buckled shoes. And when we had guns, there were these big things that you pulled the hammer back and you fired and you had a 1 in 10 chance of it exploding in your face. Like, that's another world, homie. We don't look after you. You're our slaves. You're our slaves. What does the context tell us? What does the context of what we actually see tell us? We're slaves. We're slaves. You have no choice. You don't choose. We live this bullshit fantasy. Like, you choose where you live, and then you get to choose a job. Yes, you do. And then you get to choose what car you drive or the colour it is. Sure, you do. Like, what? No, I don't. I wake up. In this world, I'm given a serial number. Every country in the world has a serial number for their people. Every country. You call it a national insurance number, you could call it your citizen ID number. You get a serial number, and you're owned by the state. And then they want something from you. They want, all that, people would be like, this is ridiculous conspiracy theory. Okay, just stop. Let me know how it goes. Just stop. Don't perform. See, I'm always here going, don't be codependent, maintain your serenity. And I'm like, that would be a really sick thing to say to people who are completely enslaved. Like, hey guys, everybody looks up from their back-breaking work in the field. Yes, you should embrace your freedom and your serenity. You're like, who the fuck is this guy? You should tell him to go away. That would be sick. But maybe, maybe this is what it is. And you're expected to do what you're supposed to do. And if you try and stop, bad things will happen to you. Maybe. Maybe if you try and stop, eventually a group of men with guns will come to your house. They will restrain you and put you in a box with a bunch of other adult strangers that you don't know and keep you there for several years. And you're like, can I go outside now? No, you stay in this box. Okay, what was my crime? You stopped. You just stopped. You stopped. You put down your tools and you stopped. When we told you to keep going, well, I was tired. We don't give a fuck that you're tired. Everybody's tired. Keep going. Well, I don't want to. Well, go in the box then. And if you resist, those gentlemen with guns, they'll shoot you to death. They'll fill your body with bullets until you're dead. Because your government loves you. This is a cheerful one. Listen, it's something to think about on the individual level in terms of narcissistic abuse, and it's something to think about on your day-to-day. Is there a program to confuse people? It looks like it to me. How do we actually live? Jordan Peterson makes a very good point that I'm fond of regularly. You say you believe this, but let's look at what you do. And that's something that he's taken from Jung, who ultimately took it from Freud. It's a psychoanalytic perspective. It's more of a Jung thing than a Freud thing, but Jung got it from Freud. This is what you say you believe, but this is what you do. Do you see this gap? Which is the thing you really believe? The thing you do. Zizek tells the story of a guy, a physicist, Those of you who are Zizek fans will be bored of this one, so I'm sorry. And goes to his house, and there's a horseshoe over the door. And he says, "A horseshoe, you believe in this superstitious nonsense?" And the physicist says, "No, I'm a scientist. Of course I don't believe in the horseshoe over the door." So, "Well, why'd you put it there then?" "I heard that it works, whether you believe it or not." This is what you say you believe. This is what you do. We're all kind of hedging our bets a little bit here, I think. I think that's what's happening, and maybe we have no choice. But to me, it would be healthier to say, hey, I have no choice. I can't just do that. I can't just stop. I'm in a position where I have no choice because there's a protocol here, and it was started way before I was born. My parents were slaves. Their parents were slaves. There was no choice. There was no like, would you like to be a part of the system? Or would you like to go to jail? Or would you like to live in a slum? You know, these are your choices. What do I do to be part of the system? You do what we tell you to do. To the letter. To the letter. And all we ask is all of your time, all of your attention, because it's all now. They want everything. They want everything. Not just your time, not just your sweat, not just your labor, not just your blood. They want all of your conscious awareness. From the moment you go asleep to the moment you wake up, they want to be monitoring you, checking you, selling to you, influencing your political decisions. They want it all. And when they figure out a way to monitor you in your sleep, as you sleep and dream, they'll be there, and you'll stick the little thing behind your ear. It'll be like a scene out of Black Mirror. "Oh, well, if I let them watch me in my dreams, they give me really good life coaching advice and tell me what products would be best for me to buy and what mortgage scheme would suit my personality type the best. You should try it, mate. It's really, really useful." That'll be next. That'll be next. I mean, they're already monitoring what we say. How many of you have had the experience of saying something ludicrous, something totally out of, and it pops up as an advert within 12 hours? My best one so far was I ended up in a conversation about the oil reserves of Uzbekistan in the pub with my cousin. And we said Uzbekistan over and over again because we'd had a drink. We're like, where is it? Where's that country? Is it there? No, it's a stan. It's one of the Uzbekistan. I'm getting like, do you want a degree in oil refinery? Would you like to take a holiday to Uzbekistan? No and no. Have you, like, if you've had those experiences, please pop a note down in the comments. Anyway, that's the Alice in Wonderland technique, and I just wanted to share it with you. Before I go to bed. If anybody has any questions about anything I just covered, feel free to ask it now, or forever hold your peace. UG Rose says, I talked about AI and I saw wild stuff in my feed. The dream thing, I dreamt that I had a girlfriend and she cheated on me with AI, and then I was getting stuff to do with artificial intelligence, it seemed to me, for the next 3 days. But artificial intelligence is there in a lot of news articles, and it's kind of out there, so I was like, oh, I don't know, how paranoid am I prepared to get? They already started. Like, wouldn't it be funny if we didn't even know, but they'd already passed that boundary, and they're like, we're totally psychic. These phones you look into, they actually can, I don't believe that. I presume at some level of technological advancement, in every civilized intelligent species of creature, maybe you always hit that point. Maybe that's quite early on. Maybe that's like discovering the coal fire engine or something. But you can't read minds yet. You bunch of hicks. Get it sorted out. That'll be like a Rick and Morty episode. What do you do when you're subjected to the technique? I would imagine, in all honesty, like if you're subjected to the technique and you're not ready for it and you're not trained for it, you would hit like I mentioned in the Get Shit Done video, you'd hit overwhelm. And then you are going to go into one of your primal responses. You only have 4, because when we get primal, when the animal comes out, it's kind of a dummy, and it's either going to freeze, or it's going to fawn, or it's going to try and run away, or it's going to try and kill the enemy. And I would imagine in this CIA technique, I bet you they get very few people who would be violent, because you will assume, like, you're not going to, if some guy or girl is next to you going, what's your favourite flavour ice cream? Why won't you tell me what your favourite flavour ice cream is? Say the ice cream flavour that you love, the favourite ice cream. And then another 2 people are asking you 2 other questions at the same time. So what it says in the reports is initially people laugh, then they protest, then they do get angry, but it's not, I don't think you would, I think you'd blame yourself. I think you'd start to internalise it and go, okay, they're adults, I'm here in this room, must be me. Like, I think you would actually start to question your own thinking first. If the technique is being used on you and it's only 1-to-1 and you're not in a CIA black spot, which I hope you're not. I hope none of you are ever need to be in that position. But it's just somebody just trying to confuse you. Then one thing you can do is go, this person is just babbling at me to try and confuse me. That's like the word salad technique. Or things where people just use random provocation to try and create exasperation, so you become overwhelmed, so that you break that boundary, so that you'll fight, swear at them, call them a word, freeze, you just sit there and go, I don't know what to do. You just leave, you're like, right, fine, I'm leaving, or you start fawning and trying to please them. That would be the idea. So if you can say, okay, this technique is being used on me right now, but I don't want to succumb to this. I don't want to succumb to this. You can start to take your toys back home. This is an image that's been coming up for me in this year, 2019. I'm trying to deal with my own codependency, so that I can sort of say, okay, this is what worked, this is what didn't work, this is the way you need to go. And frequently I come to this point where the amusing image of a kid just taking their toys and going, no, you can't play, that's not yours, that's mine. No, you can't play with, no, that's mine, give it back, thank you. Right, you want to know where I'm going? You see all these resources I have? It's metaphorical, that's my time, my attention, money, it could even be, whatever, love, depending on the context. See all this? This is mine. I got this from watching my nephew, my 2-year-old nephew, and I'm like, wow, yeah, he's real healthy. You say to him, do you want to do this? Like, do you want me to help you remove the lip? No. And he's not like, no, it's cool, but thanks for offering. He just goes, no. And you go, give it here, mine. And you go, okay, this is good. Ego formation. He knows to say no, and he knows that that's mine. So don't stand there and say, no. Like Ron Burgundy and Anchorman. You want to internally go, I'm going to take my toys and I'm going home. I'm going to take my toys and I'm going home. I wonder if on an unconscious level, me coming here and moving to where I moved to and deliberately isolating myself, I wasn't consciously taking all my toys and going home, but I feel like I've done 3 years worth of growth inside of 4 months just by not having other people play with my toys. I'm not having my attention dragged left, right and center. I'm not like, there's no manipulation, there's nothing. The cat is manipulative when he's hungry. Mao, Mao, Mao. Chairman Mao, I call him. Bloody dictator. He doesn't take no. So I'll be like, no, and he'll go, forget about no, because now is time for Mao, Mao, Mao. So yeah, I would take your toys, go home. Do you question your own state, paranoia at your door? Yes, of course. I check to see when I'm becoming paranoid. And as I said earlier, to reiterate my point, take a good, long, hard, objective view at how we live. Like, try and, if you're in it, you won't see it. But if you zoom out philosophically and you pull out and you go, okay, why do I do what I do? You go, well, I chose to study psychology. No, I fucking didn't. That's nonsense. What a hugely non-humble, non-self-aware, egotistical lie. That is, a series of events in my life led me to the conclusion that the best thing I could do based on the information I had was go and study psychology. And by the way, I was wrong. So just look, just be objective, just be philosophical and go, look, this is how I'm going to look at this situation. And what I would say is, how could anybody deny that there's a protocol of confusion going on right now? There clearly is. We're living Alice in Wonderland. We're living the Alice in Wonderland technique. I think they've started to panic and they've just released it into the water. Just confuse everyone. You can't, nobody, because you get reactions, but nobody can think clearly enough to know what to do. There's people who are young and hopeful and idealistic enough to do something, but then when they do stuff, it's so confused because they're like, I'm angry. With who? I don't know. It's just a mess. It's a horrible, horrible mess. So it's effective. It works. So it's paranoia if it's a delusion that's not based on any external feedback from the environment. Are you suggesting there's no external feedback from the environment? Because I got some bad news for you, man. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and your attention. It is precious. Think very carefully before you let people take it from you under any circumstances. First of all, they should be asking. Thank you for your time and for your attention, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Cheers.